Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Teenstake podcast. It has been a while. It has been a very long while, around 3 weeks. And today there will be no sections. Actually, if you're new here, the Teenstake podcast is a podcast where I give my take on business, culture, life, and the entertainment industry. And today, we will actually be I'll be giving my take on Atomic Habits by James Clear. I'm very excited for this. It might be a bit long because the book is 20 chapters long, and I'm gonna give my insights on each chapter. So I'll try to put, you know, chapter markers for those who want to go to specific parts so they could be interested in looking out or looking for. And without further ado, let us begin. So, in regards to the book itself, I have been seeing this book everywhere. I've seen reviews, but I've never had the book, never had a chance to read it. And finally, um, I was bought for the book, and I was able to read it. And I think it's a very interesting book. But before we begin on what I thought of the book and the points that I got from it, I think it's good to know who the author is. So the author is James Clear. James Clear is an author, speaker, and expert on habits, decision making, and continuous improvement. He's best known for his book Atomic Habits, which has sold millions of copies worldwide and has been translated into dozens of languages. His work focuses on the science of habit formation and how small changes can lead to remarkable results over time. His writing combines scientific research with practical advice, making complex topics accessible to a wide audience. He shares insights on how habits shape our lives, how to build better habits, and how to break free from destructive patterns. Clear's work has been featured in publications such as the New York Times, Time Magazine, and Wall Street Journal, and he regularly speaks to audiences ranging from Fortune 500 companies to professional sports teams. In addition to his writing, he is also a sought after speaker and consultant, helping individuals and organizations optimize their habits and achieve their goals. He is known for his engaging and informative presentations, which blend storytelling, research, and actionable strategies. Overall, he is a leading authority in habit formation and personal development, empowering people to make meaningful changes in their lives and achieve lasting success. So, he is basically a very known well guy. Without wasting any more time, we can move on to the first point, which I got from chapter 1 of the book, The Surprising Power of Atomic Habits. The key lesson that I got from chapter 1 is habits shape your identity. The concept is small habits make a big difference over time. Focus on systems rather than goals. Goals are about the result you want to achieve, while systems are about the processes that lead to those results. For example, if you have a messy room, you can set a goal to clean it. But if you maintain a habit of tidiness, the room stays clean by default. So just small things that you add to your schedule or your daily life that change something in your life that might have been wrong or misplaced or just not done at all. And I think that was the main point of discussion in the first chapter. We're moving quite fast because I'd like for you to actually find a copy of the book, probably on Amazon or here in Kenya. There are various stores. There's Prestige Books and many others that you can get the book from. So we'll move on through the points relatively quickly. Chapter 2, How Habits Shape Your Identity and Vice Versa. Key lesson is identity-based habits. Concept: To change your behavior for good, you need to start believing new things about yourself. Your current behaviors are simply a reflection of your current identity. To change for good, focus on the type of person you wish to become. Instead of saying, I want to read more, I am a reader, which relates to something that I have talked about in the past, which is positive self talk. Don't talk down on yourself because you're building a habit of talking down on yourself, which makes it hard to do the things that you want to achieve in the future. So instead of saying, I want to do that thing, first identify yourself as that thing. For example, when I was starting this podcast, I'd say, I want to be a podcaster. But now I'd say, I am a podcaster. That's the mindset that you should go into things with if you're learning a skill. It's not, I want to be a writer. It is, I am a writer. So at the end of the day, if you write, you are a writer, just at a different level. Chapter 3, How to Build Better Habits in 4 Simple Steps. Key lesson, the 4 laws of behavior change. The 4-step process for creating good habits: cue, craving, response, and reward. You can use these steps to both create good habits and break bad ones. The cue: see a book. Craving: want to relax and learn. Response: read a few pages. Reward: feel knowledgeable and relaxed. I feel like you can apply this to so many different areas of your life. Once you see your target and you realize why you want that thing, which is the craving, then your response is now the action, taking initiative to do that thing. And then lastly, which is reward, is what you get after you do that thing. Chapter 4, The Man Who Didn't Look Right. The key lesson: make it obvious. The first law of behavior change is to make the cue obvious. Use implementation intentions and habit stacking to make cues clear and actionable. I will, at this time, in this place. I will read at 6 o'clock in my bedroom and stack new habits onto existing ones. I will read 10 chapters of a book at 6 a.m. in the morning in my bedroom. Before I leave my room, I will make my bed at 6:10 in the morning in my room. So what habit stacking really does is give you a clear objective, obviously, clear objective, but then also a very clear time and location. What that helps you do is that your mind is not scattered as to what time am I going to do this task, or where am I going to do it. If you just set it in your mind that I'm going to do this task at this time in this location and make it part of your routine, it's definitely going to be easier. Chapter 5, The Best Way to Start a New Habit. Key lesson: use implementation intentions. Plan your habits carefully to ensure you perform them. Clearly state your intention to act. Example: I will exercise at 7 a.m. in my living room. This is bouncing off from the last point. I will exercise at 7 a.m. in my living room. I will start my math at 9 a.m. on the dining table, for example. Use implementation intentions. You have to be very critical and precise and exact about the thing you're doing, what time you're doing it, and where you're doing it, to just help frame your mind to be able to do that thing repetitively, even. Chapter 6, Motivation is overrated. Environment often matters more. Key lesson: make it attractive. The concept: the second law of behavior change is to make the habit attractive. Use temptation bundling to join a culture where your desired behavior is the norm. Pair an action you want to do with an action you need to do. Best example that I can find off the top of my head is washing dishes and listening to music. I need to wash the dishes, but I want to listen to music. In my mind, I know washing dishes is important, but listening to music is a bit more important. So once you pair those habits together, you can be able to do what you want and what you need at the same time. You don't even realize that the time passes and you've done what you need to do, and now you're just left with what you want to do. So when you're washing dishes with music, it would seem easier to wash dishes with music than without. And I've actually, over the past um 3 weeks that this podcast has been on a break, I have actually tried that after reading the book, to try wash dishes without music and try wash dishes with music. I'd find at times that I will wash few dishes without music, but it seems like I washed two sinkfuls of dishes. Whereas if I wash with music, even if it's after having guests or after we've eaten a meal that required a lot of um, utensils to be used, I'd find the time passes much, much faster. Chapter 7: The Secret of Self Control. Key lesson: reduce exposure to bad cues. Environment design can help reduce the influence of bad habits. Self control is easier when you don't have to use it often. If you want to eat healthier, make unhealthy food less accessible. If you feel like you don't need your phone at all when you're studying, put it away. Using in um, the example that I mentioned, if you feel like you're on a diet currently and you want to keep unhealthy foods away from you, then keep them away from you. Don't leave them out in the open. Chapter 8: How to make a habit irresistible. Make it satisfying. The third law of behavior change is to make it easy. Habits are easier to build when they fit into the flow of your life. Reduce friction, decrease the number of steps between you and your good habits. I think for me, one of the best ways to do this personally is if I want something very, very important to be done, I'll do it immediately I wake up. Whether that's art or writing or uh, Bible study or making something, whatever it may be, I make it the first thing I do in the morning so that it's natural for me to get into it and do it. Chapter 9: The Role of Family and Friends in Shaping Your Habits. Social environments can shape behaviors. The culture we live in determines which behaviors are attractive to us. Surround yourself with people who have the habits you want to have yourself. Example: if you join a group where running is a norm, you're more likely to run. If you join an art class, you're most likely to, you know, do art, obviously. Um, I think your social environment is a big part of determining how your habits operate. It's almost like a good form of peer pressure. Chapter 10: How to find and fix the causes of your bad habits. Reframe your mindset and change your habits. The key to good habits is reducing the friction associated with them. Increase the friction for bad habits and reduce it for good ones. Make the cues of your bad habits invisible. If there's anything that activates you towards a bad habit, you have to work intentionally in your mind or even physically to remove it or fight against it. And then make sure that there's not much of a gap between you and your good habits. Chapter 11: Walk slowly but never backward. Again, key lesson in this is to make it easy. The third law of behavior change is to make the habit simple to perform. Use the 2-minute rule to make starting new habits easy. Read, read, read before bed each night becomes read one page before bed each night. I normally do this with my drawing daily. Instead of I'm going to complete this portrait and it's going to be amazing. It's I will draw the frame of the face and add an ear. Or if I'm just practicing, I'll just draw circles and lines and close the book. What that then does is that for me personally, you find that you tend to go the extra mile, especially if it's such a small thing. You start to tell yourself, oh, I can definitely do more than one page of a book. And you read the second and the third and the fourth, and you finished a chapter, and you finish two chapters, and it becomes a habit. Chapter 12, the law of least effort. Make it effortless. I think you'd see or have seen a reoccurring theme with these points is just making it as easy as possible to access or do good habits. Human behavior follows the law of least effort. Design your environment to make good habits the path of least resistance. If you want to floss your teeth, place the floss next to your toothbrush. If you want to not check your phone in the morning, put it as far away from you as possible. If you want to eat something healthy, make sure it's closest and most accessible to you. You walk into the kitchen and the first thing you see is an apple, not the cake that you baked last night or something like that. Chapter 13, how to stop procrastinating by using the 2-minute rule. Any habit can be scaled down in a 2-minute version. Starting is the most important step in developing a new habit. For example, fold the laundry becomes fold one pair of socks. You still know you're going to have to fold the entire basket of laundry, but then in your mind, you tell yourself it's just one sock. And then that sock cannot be alone. It's a pair of socks. And then now you select, okay, I'll just fold my clothes alone. Then you'll see that your clothes most probably took a large percent of the basket and then just fold the rest. So it's just simple 2-minute steps to trick your mind into doing the entire thing. Chapter 14, how to make good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. Automate your habits. Use technology and automation to lock in good habits. When good habits are the default, you're more likely to follow through. Set up automatic savings to invest in a portion of your paycheck. That is, if you have a paycheck where you can maybe download an app, put some money on it, and then automatically invests at certain intervals. So you're not necessarily doing the action of investing the money on the app. Or, for example, setting an alarm is one simple thing I can think about, where you're not forcing yourself to wake up at, I'll give my example, at 4:30 in the morning, but instead you've set an alarm to wake you up. It's automation. Just make things as easy as possible. And the bad habit of going back to sleep is quite far, because I realize that when I sleep with my phone next to my bed, when the alarm goes, 90% of the time I might hit snooze and then I end up waking at 6 o'clock instead of the time I was supposed to wake up. But nowadays I just put it as far away as possible in my room where I can still hear it, but I have to stand up to go and turn it off. Next chapter is the cardinal rule of behavior change. Make it satisfying. The fourth law of behavior change is to make the habit satisfying. Use immediate rewards to reinforce good habits. Track your habits to create a sense of satisfaction as you see your progress. For example, I'm currently training in the gym for boxing, and the coaches normally take videos. And once you come home, the videos have been sent to you, and you feel a sense of achievement of, despite the pain, I still did something. You still did something. I feel like for me, the immediate reward when doing anything is the fact that I took time to do it. I feel is the biggest reward when I'm doing anything, regardless how simple or complicated the task is. Next is how to stick with good habits every day. Keep the habit streak alive. Consistency is key to maintaining habits. Never miss twice. If you miss one day, get back on track the next. Use a habit tracker to visualize your progress. And I think one very common example, I think for some of us younger folks, by young I mean between the ages of probably 12 and maybe 40s, is Duolingo. Duolingo is an app that annoyingly reminds you to practice your language of choice every day. Even before reading this book, I had picked up Japanese. I have been learning how to speak Japanese, and in previous times, I had used Duolingo, but I had only been able to keep a 1 week streak, 2 day streak, 3 day streak. But then I decided, again, even before reading the book, to just be consistent. Every time the bud says, do you have 15 minutes for Japanese? Do you have 2 minutes for Japanese? Just click on the app and do the lesson. And after that, currently, I am on a 70-day streak on Duolingo. I've never gone that far, and I have actually learned something. And I think that relates to a previous point of immediate reward, where immediately finish a lesson, you get XP points, you move up in the leaderboards, and you've learned something new, maybe new words or phrases, or for those who are learning Asian languages, you've learned new characters and how they sound and all that. Next is how an accountability partner can change everything. Use accountability to stay on track. Accountability partners or groups can help you stay committed to your habits. Social accountability increases the cost of not performing your habits. Commit your goals publicly or join a habit group. I think for me, I'd go back to the example of going to the gym. I think my accountability partner is actually my coach, definitely, because I have to show up 4 times a week at certain times. Is around 6 to 7. This is around 6 or 7 in the morning. I have to go, keep me accountable, writing my schedule, recording the videos. If I don't go, then I'm not only disappointing him, but I am letting myself down because this is a goal I'm committed to. So I feel that's one of the ways that I am accountable. But I feel like um, not to diminish social accountability, but I think also personal accountability is very important. So I say your journal or your daily entry for your diary could be your accountability partner, where if I do not write this down, this task down, that I have finished and completed this task, then I have basically failed myself and failed to do that task. I'll do better tomorrow, obviously. Chapter 18: The Truth About Talent. When genes matter and when they don't. Align your habits with your natural abilities. Understanding your strengths and weaknesses can help tailor your habits. Choose habits that align with your natural inclinations and talents. For example, if you're naturally an easy riser, structure your habits around your peak performance times. I have been asked the question whether I'm a night owl or an early bird. I'd say I'm both, but I feel like I am extremely productive between 4 and 10 a.m. and I am extremely productive between 4 and 10 p.m. So both, but I'd say that point is actually quite good. If you tend to wake up late and stay up late, prioritize your habits around the times where you feel like you are at peak energy. Chapter 19: The Goldilocks Rule: How to Stay Motivated in Life and Work. Stay in the optimal zone of difficulty. The Goldilocks rule states that humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are right on the edge of their current abilities. Find that sweet spot where your habits are challenging enough to be interesting, but not so difficult as to be discouraging. Gradually increase the difficulty of your habits to keep them engaging. For example, when I started drawing, I just drew. This was around 14 months ago. I just drew. Just, pencil, paper, not even looking at anything, no references, no nothing. It was fun. But then as time went on, around November last year, I actually started practicing drawing. So, face shapes and the eye and the nose and proportions. It was not fun, but I was increasing my difficulty level as I went on. And last but not least, chapter 20: The Downside of Creating Good Habits. Beware of Complacency. Good habits can sometimes lead to a plateau in performance. Regularly review and adjust your habits to avoid complacency and maintain progress. Periodically reassess your habits and set new goals to continue improving. This relates to the previous point on our previous points made on you know increasing your difficulty as you go. So when you find a good habit, this is not. I think this is more skill based, not like making your bed or things like that. This is more skill based. If you find that you have hit a plateau in, you know, whatever skill you're trying to learn or progress in, whatever you've made a habit of doing, don't stay in the same place for long. If you can draw eyes perfectly, draw noses. I'd give an example of this. For a long time, I've been trying my best over the last year to teach myself how to play the piano. It's not easy, but I felt like I was just repeating the same chords over and over and over, just major chords and minor chords. And then 4 months ago, I taught myself how to play sharps and flats. Um, and I did that. I did it. Sounds great, but I decided to take that step further a month ago, actually around 2.5 weeks ago, and now learn seventh chords and jazz chords and incorporate that into whatever music I am creating. It's to just make sure that I don't stay in the same place because there's infinite amount of things to learn about whatever skill you pick up. You can be the great you can be the greatest in the world at something, but there's still something you don't know about that thing. In conclusion to all of that, habits are the foundation of mastery. The process of building habits is never ending and requires constant refinement. Continuous improvement and a commitment to lifelong learning are essential for sustained success. Focus on getting 1% better each day, and over time, you will achieve remarkable results. I think focus on getting 1% better is probably the most famous quote from the book Atomic Habits, which I definitely recommend you read. That is all I have from the book itself. Um, I will be posting a few of the points that I mentioned on small posts on Instagram, Teenstake Podcast. If you're more interested in artistic content, there will be links down below to all the various redirections where you can find my work. Thank you so much for listening, and I definitely recommend you read the book. Now, in the next episode, which will either be later this week or early next week, I am going to go back to my regular structure of business, culture, film, and life, and now take all these lessons and show how you can apply them to each of those four sections. Thank you so much for listening. I am very glad to have you here if you're new, and consider subscribing, sharing if you feel like this information will be useful to anyone. I hope you got something out of this, whether on Spotify, on YouTube. Feel free to leave feedback, even on Instagram if you'd want to personally message me, give feedback, or anything you'd want me to check out or talk about. I'm very happy to. And there will be a new section that I am hoping to add. It'll be a smaller section or a branch of the podcast that I'm planning to add. More information on that will be on my Instagram at Teenstake Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. See you next week.